this afternoon we are joined by a team of educators and students and professionals who have worked with the Academy of Mary Immaculate, which is located in the heart of Melbourne, and has created an innovative Year 9 program called the Synergy Program, which makes use of the school's proximity to the CBD and emphasises collaboration, creativity and student-directed learning. The Synergy team today are joined by visual ecologist Aviva Reed, who will explain her connections and the work that she's done with the school. And through an exploration of first people stories, data collection, ecological thinking and artist-led hands-on experiences, this program seeks to engender a lifelong love for and care of the Yarra River. So I'm thrilled to introduce the Synergy team to you this afternoon. They come from a range of departments within the school, including art, history, English and technology. And the program seeks to inspire students to think sustainably, promoting student agency and active engagement in the future management of Melbourne's main river during this critical phase of student education in Year 9. So I've got a few people saying hi and using the chat function. Catherine, hello, and Aviva is coming to us from near the Darebin Creek. So this program is funded by the Department of Education and Sustainability Strategic Partnerships Program, and I'm thrilled and thankful for the support of the organisation in enabling this opportunity this afternoon. So I'm going to hand over now to the team from Academy.
All right, hi and welcome to our presentation. I'm not sure, there's some really loud singing going on outside the window, so I'm hoping that that's not too much of a distraction. My name's Amy Prendergast and my colleagues.
I'm Catherine Glenister.
I'm Vanda Pugliese.
And I'm Katrina Renouf.
And we're going to run you through a unit of work today that we've been delivering to our Year 9 program. And we just want to say a big thanks to Dominic for giving us this opportunity, because it's actually really lovely to have time to reflect on what we're doing. So yeah, thanks for that. So we've got 3 students here today. 2 are on the tram on the way home, racing like mad to get here on time. And if they don't make, oh no, actually 1 is on the tram on the way home. And 2 are with us. We've also got a recent graduate from Academy of Mary Immaculate, Krista, and she is here to just give a bit of a spiel about the development of the sustainability unit, and then she has to dash off, which is fine. So she'll give her spiel and then she has to leave, unfortunately, but no problem at all. We've also got visual ecologist Aviva Reed here with us today. And together with the Synergy teachers, we're going to outline our sustainability unit of work.
Okay, so any of you who know the Academy of Mary Immaculate will perhaps know that it is the oldest girls' school in Melbourne. It was established in 1857, and luckily we are situated on the fringe of Melbourne in Fitzroy. In fact, our staff room overlooks the exhibition building and Melbourne Museum, so we're really quite fortunate to be in that position. It's a magnificent backdrop for the school, and therefore it's understandable that we wanted to create a Year 9 program which makes use of our location. We know how lucky we are, but how do we embed the sustainability concerns of the VCAA into this built environment?
And now, next 2 slides along, thanks.
So in less restricted times, we walk to the State Library, we whip down to the Magistrates Court at lunchtime to catch an afternoon session, we draw at the NGV Great Hall and explore the laneways of our city. We look at rich Aboriginal history of the Fitzroy area, and we complete the Black Mile Walk, and we participate in boxing sessions at the local Aboriginal gym, and we even do bush food tastings at Charcoal Lane.
In fact, over the last 5 years, we've developed a program with Melbourne at its heart, which strives to engage Year 9 students at the critical point of their education. The program draws on current research emphasising the importance of collaboration, creativity, reflection and student-directed learning. It's an interdisciplinary program, one that's for 1 term's duration. We deliver a number of units of work in that time. We look at the First Peoples of Melbourne area and how Melbourne is portrayed by artists, how Melbourne is governed, and also Melbourne as a sustainable city. While all these units are separate, they are interconnected in a number of ways.
Next slide, please. I think it might be 2 slides along. Yeah. So underpinning the program, the Synergy Year 9 program, we've got a concern for social justice and sustainability that it runs throughout the program, and we seek to embed it right through all our classroom activities. So how does a school located in the urban landscape engender an understanding of, let alone a passion for, sustainability in a way that's authentic and has Melbourne at its core? And how can we utilise this as part of an interdisciplinary contemplation of what it means to be a Melburnian?
So
next slide, please.
Thanks. So the inspiration for our sustainability unit came about, it was just a chance meeting with Dr. Nicole Kowalczyk at a talk with Bruce Pascoe was giving at the Fitzroy Library. And Nicole's a conservation biologist and the Yarra River Keeper education officer. So, and she'd been given funding for an education program for primary and secondary students, basing it on the health of the Yarra, and she needed a pilot school to actually launch her program. And of course, we left it the chance and took the Academy's sustainability group to trial her program down to Dights Falls in Abbotsford. Lucky it's not too far away at all. One of the students who joined the reconnaissance mission to the Yarra and provided helpful feedback and suggestions was Krista. She was then a Year 10 student. She's left the college now. She was Year 10 student coordinator of the sustainability group. So over to you, Krista.
Hi everybody, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me virtually. I'm Krista. I was the co-founder, that's me in the middle there, of Earth at Academy, which is the Academy's current eco group. And way back in 2017, Amy, myself, and some other students from our group, we did a bit of field work, if you like, going down to the riverbank in Abbotsford to test the pilot program that Dr. Nicole had introduced to our school. So I think it worked really well with the current curriculums we had at Academy, as well as the existing units in the Synergy program. For example, the unit we have about First Nations people in Melbourne specifically. And also having the group being existing for a year or so, I think it was a nice complement to just generally where the Academy was in terms of student engagement with sustainability. Also, the Synergy staff expressed to me on the way to the excursion that they wanted to have the program really influenced by student engagement, student voices and feedback. So obviously that necessitated our test run. And so when we went down to the Yarra, we had a really hands-on go at collecting data and collecting information about the river on the day. And we also did a cleanup in the surrounding area and also a litter audit. So once we did the audit, we compared that to the data we had gathered and really just gained, I think, a really good understanding of the living story of the Yarra and the just giving a bit of detail about the kind of the relationship that we have to the Yarra. I think a lot of students found that we felt that we had a more symbiotic relationship with the river once we had actually kind of engaged with it in that way, instead of just seeing it and having that one-way sort of street. I think we all felt a bit, we had like agency to kind of explore the living story of the river after documenting its composition and learning about it. So after that, yeah, I think we all felt a sense of privilege for spending an afternoon with the river that we love so much. And I think the positive reception that we all the students who went had, I think that really like greenlit the inclusion of the pilot program into the Synergy program. To be honest, I kind of want to be in Year 9 now because I didn't get to experience the unit like as a whole. I was in Year 10 at that point, but yeah, I think the Synergy sustainability unit has really benefited from that program being introduced. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I've got to go now, but see ya.
Thanks, Krista.
See you, Krista. Thank you.
Thanks, Krista.
Thanks. So another chance encounter by the Synergy teachers on a day of PD led to the idea of rolling out our sustainability as a STEAM initiative. And we happened upon Aviva Reed's exhibition, Hydrologic, at the Docklands Library, and we were inspired. Aviva, a visual ecologist and a PhD student at La Trobe University, has a background in art collaboration and a professional interest in the ecosystems around Melbourne. And this, combined with Catherine's background as an art teacher, unleashed a flurry of inspiration, and a unit was born.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, a number of departments at Academy have become involved in an advisory capacity as we developed our unit for a total of between 12 to 15 periods. We're very fortunate to have a lot of experts on staff that we could tap into. We feel that there's a lot of expertise across the whole of the college, and so it really added to the interdisciplinary program. We approached this in a number of ways, mostly informally, picking our colleagues' brains, swinging past their desks or chatting in the staff room or at the pub on a Friday night, and we are identifying who were the most would be helpful for different aspects of the unit. So this is very much consistent with our approach that we take in Synergy, where we certainly do not regard ourselves as the experts in all we teach, but rather guides and fellow learners.
Okay, so in terms of the sustainability priority in the Victorian curriculum, it's broken down into 3 key concepts. And I don't know whether you can read them all on the screen. I think our faces actually cover them. But they are systems, worldviews, and futures. We will look at systems firstly by acknowledging that all life forms are connected through ecosystems on which they depend for their well-being and survival. This interconnectedness is highlighted in our multidisciplinary approach in the classroom. Our approach to embedding worldviews enables a diversity of opinions on ecosystems and values and social justice to be discussed and recognised when determining individual and community actions for sustainability. We do this through mindfulness, through contemplation of the arts, through First Peoples and science perspectives, developing a holistic approach to the contemplation of the Yarra and sustainable outcomes. And then to explore the key sustainability concept of futures, we look at promoting reflective thinking processes in young people and empower them to design an action that will lead to a more equitable and sustainable future. By designing a unit in which they gather a range of data, make sense of this and take an informed action, they are also taking agency in their future and that of the Yarra. The futures focus is made visible both at the Yarra, where we take an action, we do a litter audit, then clean up, and also in the classroom, where we give students an assignment which highlights their agency in caring for the river, whether that's advocating or educating or even campaigning.
So as Amy's mentioned, or as mentioned before, there are a number of smaller units within the actual Synergy program. The students start by considering Melbourne's First Peoples and are engaged with their history at a local level, and being in Fitzroy, that also gives us a great opportunity to reach out to different locations. The students spend time discovering the wide impact of William Barrack's story. The artist, he was an artist, Narangita, a diplomat, and the Wurundjeri man. So we link the First Peoples unit to the sustainability unit with a beautiful creation story told by Barrack about the Yarra River.
Next slide, please. And the Barrack story, it sets the scene for our first sustainability class. And this is followed by a mindfulness activity utilising immersive techniques. So we use bird sounds, the smell of eucalyptus, gum leaves from the Carlton Gardens to create a Deirdre experience of inner deep listening and still quiet awareness. And then we look at the history of the Yarra as told by Dean Stewart, Victorian Wemba Wergaya man. And we're trying to build a sense of the significance of the river on a number of levels here. And finally, we posed the question to the students, how could we check the health of the river? And they discussed that robustly.
So then the students then undertake an excursion to a point along the river, meeting up with the Yarra River Keeper Education Officer, Nicole, who runs this part of the unit. Students collect various forms of data. For example, they consider water quality by looking at the indicators like temperature, salinity and turbidity. They also assess the variety and abundance of macroinvertebrates, which are recognised as biological indicators of water quality, and we also do some bird spotting. So their final data collection involves a litter audit. The students discuss their results and they finish by taking some informed action, which is a clean-up, and they all get incredibly involved and happy to get the gloves and their gloves on and clean up the area that we're in, which is great to see them taking action.
Okay, and so we've got the current points of the Yarra that we're looking at. We've got Docklands, we look at Abbotsford, we look at Dights Falls in Abbotsford. We're also, we've busted up to Warburton just for a bit of a different perspective. And so depending on which term the girls are in, they'll go to one of those points. And then they compare data from other terms' explorations. So you get a real range of readings from those various points. We're keen to check out Warrandyte, Pound Bend in Warrandyte, which is where Simon Wonga brought together the people of the Kulin Nation in 1852 for a final corroboree. We think this would be a really great way to collapse in the First Peoples in with the sustainability unit even further. So we're really excited to try that, and we're just waiting for the go-ahead on that one. And now Emma would like to give her reflection on the excursion that the girls do.
Oh, hi, I'm Emma. So when we did the excursion, we met up with Dr. Nicole at Dights Falls in Abbotsford. We separated into two groups and we looked at like a variety of different measures, like one being water quality and the other one was macroinvertebrates, which were mentioned earlier. And we did them in like two very different sites. One site was where the Mary Creek flows into the Yarra River, and there was lots of places with like leaf debris where the macroinvertebrates could shelter. And we also looked at a faster flowing part of the river and we noticed that there was less water bugs in these areas. It was interesting to discuss the data with Dr. Nicole, and we finished up with a litter audit and cleanup. Some of the students even found an O-bike hidden in the grass. It was a really good idea to do a cleanup at the end, as there was quite a bit of rubbish and it made us feel like we'd actually kind of contributed to the Yarra in a really positive and influential way.
Yeah, so that was a really good experience for the girls at that time, as Emma's just told us. And so back in the classroom, we look at the data that the students have gathered during the other trips to the Yarra at different points of the Yarra River. So comparisons are made and some suggestions about why the health of the river varies depending upon the location. Some of it is obvious, but some of it the girls have to really think through and decide why it's more polluted in one area or it seems a bit more turbidity in another area. So there are lots of different factors that come into it, and they get the opportunity to discuss this. They're prompted to think of ways to improve Melbourne's waterways. So the assignment is handed out, and this is changed pretty much with every group because they'll be looking at different areas. And over the last couple of years, I think we've been able to refine it quite a bit. However, it's always collaborative based on the findings made during the excursion. It encourages the individual student to tap into their own agency to help make the improvements and to think about what they can actually do. You know, everything starts with one person, and they're given that challenge. And so the assignments have been based around lobbying parliamentarians, educating other school-age students, or educating the public more broadly, if that's an opportunity for them. So they're given the time to actually think those things through. So Francesca, would you like to tell us a bit more?
Hi everyone, my name's Francesca, and so the assessment for this unit brought together everything that we had learnt about the Yarra River and its sustainability. Our task was to create a digital resource which could be used to educate young children about the health and the future of the Yarra River. We all worked in small groups, and then we brainstormed how we would work together to create this resource and what our aim would be. It was a unique type of assessment because whilst we were working on it, we could draw on our personal experiences throughout the sustainability unit. For example, we could use the photos that we had taken or the primary data that we had gotten from our turbidity testing from our excursion to Darts Falls. And it was really cool because every girl had their own perspective and understanding towards the Yarra, so we could all be creative in our approach. Every girl created something different. Every group created something different. Some girls did PowerPoints, some did storybooks. Emma and I worked together to make a Prezi, and our aim was to raise awareness about the effects of littering, and we put a Kahoot in there as well. It was a lot of fun because it didn't feel like we were working on an assessment, but instead it felt like an opportunity to speak out about our views on real-world issues surrounding sustainability. The most amazing part of the unit as a whole was seeing how our personal creations from the assessment could then be used beyond the classroom. For example, one of the girls' mothers took one of the storybooks home that a group had created from the assessment, and she read it to the children at her childcare centre. And when we found out about that, it was just such beautiful news. And as students in Year 9, it just felt really empowering to know that our creations from the unit were then leaving an external impact on the wider community.
Sounds like you got a lot out of that, Francesca. Thank you. And so the next slide, the final part of this unit is an incursion, which is run by visual ecologist Aviva Reed. And as a PH student with an interest in both science and art, Aviva helps the students unpack their findings and their understandings of ecological systems. And she offers them a way to respond artistically and collaboratively to their experiences and their class discussions. So we'll pass you over to Aviva to tell you all about that.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I guess this is a good opportunity to discuss methodology. I use my visual representations of my variety of works to just stimulate and provoke thought, and it's just fascinating to see where the imagery takes the conversation, and it does take us to, maybe the next slide there, it does take us to a lot of really philosophical spaces, because it really allows us to unpack things at different scales, from micro to macro, but also different temporal scales, so into the past and into the future. And so I think that process of using the visual representations really tries to crack open those ecological imaginations and allow students to really contextualize these large ideas and concepts, especially things like going and visiting one part of the Yarra, but still then being able to contextualize it within that larger catchment. And so it was a really beautiful process to see the students sort of grapple with a lot of the complexities that arose. I remember a really interesting encounter when we did a artwork at the end. Should I talk about the collaborative artwork? Yeah. Okay, well, I'll wrap it all in. It's all wrapped in together. So I'll usually do an incursion using my images to provoke a lot of conversation, and I'll draw diagrams to describe the different questions that we investigate. And then we'll do a collaborative drawing, which which was some really interesting social experimentation of one, how to represent a concept collaboratively, and then two, we did a few experiments where we encouraged the students to surrender their artworks to their classmates and really embrace what it is to have to be a collaborative system, because if we look at an ecosystem, obviously that's a collaborative ecosystem. And so it's a process of embodying that as a concept. But yeah, when we did draw some of the data around like the Port Phillip Bay site and then compared it to upstream, it was a really interesting encounter. It was really interesting because the students ended up, I guess through this process, they don't have to be so literal, and it allows them to put in some of that more emotional experience. So even though when they were down at Port Phillip, they didn't find a lot of macroinvertebrates or turbidity necessarily, but they still drew it quite devastatingly, because I think they knew that it was a sort of devastated ecosystem compared to their upper reaches. And so that then evokes another round of really intense discussions. We also had another encounter where a student sort of, in a way, sort of tried to sabotage the process. And then, you know, by doing, like, putting in a big red handprint, which then kind of really cracked open a whole bunch of really heavy concepts around these ideas around massacres that would have occurred on the rivers, and a lot of them did. And that was a really interesting sort of place that the collaborative artworks went. And the other one that stood out for me was little things like when a student sort of put something random that didn't kind of make that much sense, but then we sort of worked out what it could be maybe was, and we decided it was a type of snag, like a big log in the creek. And then we realized that that term, a snag, wasn't a very familiar term, but in an ecological ecosystem, it's a really important part of an ecosystem. And it once again allowed us to crack open all these intense discussions around river management, and how in the past we've removed snags from the river, but yet the snags are where there's a lot of habitat and slows the river down. And so all these sorts of encounters and these provocations just led us to really go deeper and deeper and deeper into places we previously wouldn't have thought to go.
Yeah, thank you, Aviva. That's amazing. And we've got Claudia now, a student who's currently in Year 11, but did Year 9 a couple of years ago. And she's going to give her take on that collaborative artwork where you made them relinquish control, which is pretty interesting. All right, Claudia.
Thanks, Miss. Hi, guys. I'm Claudia, and the artwork we did as a class was nothing like I have ever done before, and the results were really interesting. Aviva set us up into 2 groups around a canvas and told us to work collaboratively to design a response to our class discussion, an excursion. We used watercolours and Yarra water as we had collected from our excursion. It was a strange feeling sharing a canvas with my classmates. Some students did really detailed water bugs and others worked more on the water or landscape. We were going along well when we were asked to switch canvases halfway through. We all found that really unsettling. Overall, the workshop helped us to make a sense of the unit of work, which I really enjoyed. I signed up for a sustainability group with Emma and Francesca as a result of my time thinking about local sustainability issues, and have been a passionate member in the 2 years since I was in the program.
So we've just got the next bit, one's just a little bit of a video snippet of some of the artwork that's been created. We've got one up on, it's a magnificent piece that's up on the wall in the stairwell. And we've also had the opportunity with one of the groups to actually do the artwork down by the river and immerse the paper into the river water. And even the ones that we've done back in the classroom or in the hall, we've brought back Yarra River water to use as the water for the watercolour. So that's another sort of connection with that the girls get and can see, and it makes it a richer experience for them. So sustainability, it's a cross-curricular priority, and in this unit we address that. In the arts, by exploring sustainability through the arts, we provide opportunity for students to express and develop worldviews and to appreciate and the need for collaboration within and between communities to implement more sustainable patterns of living. as Aviva said, you know, that rich unpacking of ideas that goes on through those art experiences is something that stays with the girls. So in this learning area, students use the exploratory and creative platform of the arts to advocate effective action for sustainability. And in terms of English, we develop the understanding and skills necessary to act responsibly and create texts that inform and persuade others to take action for sustainable futures as part of the assessment. Through maths, we develop some of the skills necessary to measure, monitor and quantify change in social, economic and ecological systems over time, and to use statistical analysis, enabling the prediction of probable futures based on findings. These statistics help inform decision making and actions that will lead to preferred futures. In terms of science, we look at the importance of using science to predict possible effects of human and other activity and to develop management plans or alternative technologies that minimise these effects. In humanities, the Synergy students explore contemporary issues of sustainability and develop action plans and possible solutions to local, national and global issues, which have social, economic and environmental perspectives. So it's quite interdisciplinary and cross-curricular unit that we run in the Synergy program, and I'm very proud of it. So where to from here?
Some of the thoughts we've got about moving forward once we get out of this, you know, lockdown or holding pattern, we're looking at involving other schools, and maybe schools that are along the Yarra would be amazing to help us collect data, and so we can sort of transfer knowledge a bit more in a broader sense, potentially sharing data and even establishing a joint database with other schools, I think would be amazing. So that's one of the thoughts we've had.
We've also been thinking about developing innovative uses of technology to display data, so mapping and other forms of data visualisation.
And perhaps looking at other locations where we could actually access the river and therefore have more data detail so that we can actually do comparative studies as we go along, and making that even more comparative on a yearly basis. So next year we will be comparing with what's happened this year, although we didn't get to the Yarra River this year, but we could have compared had we been out. So looking for other locations as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely make it to Pound Bend next year.
We certainly hope so.
I was there on the weekend, and I think it's definitely a place that we should take the students and explore. So we're hoping to create a year-long artwork based on the data collected for the various groups as well, which would be a fantastic way to explore not just individual responses to the experience on the day or the couple of days afterwards. We'd hope it would be great to have an artwork that sort of captures the year's experience and using the data from across the year and the different locations. So that's an aim, we're hoping. And we're fortunate we've got Aviva running a session with our girls that are in Synergy at the moment. And we're hoping to do that in about a week or so's time. We'll do it sort of remote. Aviva will be remote, and all being well, as things stand, we'll be in the classroom.
Fantastic.
Fingers crossed.
And we'd just like to finish with a reflection by Francesca. She did Year 9, she did Synergy about 2 years ago. And this is what she wrote as a Year 9 student, or part of what she wrote at the end of this sustainability unit. So over to you, Francesca.
If I were to summarise what I've learnt in this unit in one word, I would use the word change. To change is to make a difference in this world. To change is to inform the citizens of Melbourne about the daily effects of pollution towards the Yarra River. To change is to alter people's views on the Indigenous Australians of this land so that we can better understand who they are and why we should respect them. To change is to tell people the truth about what is going on in the world. No lies, no sugarcoating, just facts.
Beautiful. Thanks,
Beautiful.
Francesca.
Thank you so much, Francesca.
Right.
Good
My
note
goodness.
to end on.
Thank you,
Yeah.
the team at Academy. What an incredible comprehensive experience for these students in Year 9, and an example of a properly, like a transdisciplinary approach to learning for these students, with that connection between the science and art and the stories of the place of where these students are going to school and the places that they're traveling through, and the landscape that also travels through the place that they're in. Just phenomenal. I like to give this time now over to the people who are attending the session with us. We had a few who stayed on, a few who disappeared as we went along, but if anyone had any questions to ask of the team from Academy. Francesca, if you're willing to share the ongoing impact, because it is 2 years now since you were part of the program, if you've had any thoughts about how it influences your thinking now, having been part of a program like that, and your profound reflection on the change in how stories are shared.
I think if we didn't complete Synergy, our understanding of just our surroundings wouldn't really be like, it wouldn't really have like formed. Like we would just sort of go to school each day and not really know much about what's happening around us. But after being able to complete this unit and go on the excursions to Dights Falls, especially with the other girls, it was just a chance to sort of like have like these new perspectives and to learn more about what is going on around the outside of just the school, and to do it with the girls as well was another really enjoyable experience, because then we could bounce off our ideas and sort of develop like our perspectives and our views together. So yeah, it was really exciting, and I guess 2 years later as a school as well, we've come a long way. So yeah.
And did Claudia mention that you are now sustainability leaders at the school as well? Is that right?
I think, yeah, because we're, the senior students, so we sort of have like that role of leading the younger students.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
They do an amazing job. They're part of a sustainability group that Krista, who presented earlier, actually helped set up. And these girls have just taken the baton and they've run with it. They've got all sorts of things planned for next year, and they do an amazing job. And I think they were a little bit inspired by the Synergy Sustainability unit to sort of become involved. So yeah, we're very proud of them.
And it's a completely amazing thing to be proud of. Absolutely. Yeah. What a great foundation for future thinking and opportunities in the school with all the students. And it's for all the Year 9 students, isn't it?
Yes, they all take part in it. Yeah.
So I think I might wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Academy, for sharing your story this afternoon. It's been absolutely inspirational to hear about the work that you've done with your students and the ongoing opportunities that this has created for them. And I really look forward to hearing what happens next with Synergy at Academy. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dominique.
Fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity, Dominique.
Yeah.
My pleasure. My
been a
absolute
blast.
pleasure.